I think the situation on ground could have been handled differently.
Yes.
And sometimes, even as human beings, and we can apply this to any area of our lives, we decide to go our own way, some belief that we have, or some preferences that we want to hold on to, or we like. And then when Kasala don't bust, like they say, you now want to go back to what you should have done at the beginning. And it applies to everyone.
If you are AS and you still think that you want to get married and think that that's the right thing you want to do, it's fine. Your husband and wife can come together, but excluding the child. Like, don't bring a child into the picture. So they could have considered other options like adoption. There are many, many medical ways now where the kids don't have to be affected. Right?
Yes. I think someplace I cried. You know, I lost a friend to sickle cell a couple of years ago. So, you know, it was and I have friends too that you know are battling sickle cell. Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. Of course, this is Nolly Reviews by BD, and of course I am D
and I'm Bo.
Okay, today we'll be talking about the movie, or rather reviewing a movie called Streets of Heaven. It's on Ruth Kadiri's channel on YouTube, and some of the stars of the movie was Etim-Effiong, of course Ruth Kadiri. I would say those are the two major stars that we know. Of course, there are other amazing characters also on that movie. Now, this is not a new movie. I think it's been out, I want to say maybe 9 months.
Yeah, I think April or
so it's been close to, let me say, 8-9 months. Now this movie, the views, I think it's 2 million plus when the last time we checked, so it should be getting, but wanted to just review it because it's of course something very relatable again.
Yes,
we have a lot to say about this movie. I don't remember how long this movie was, maybe about 2 hours, give or take.
Yes,
about 2 hours, and I will let Bo give us a brief synopsis of the movie.
So the movie is called Streets of Heaven, like she said, on Ruth Kadiri TV. And if you ask me, I don't know what Kadiri had in mind, but the movie looks to me like it's about sickle cell awareness. And I'm saying that because the movie was basically about a couple who called Paul and Grace, who were in love. They were so in love with one another, and they were going to get married. And you know how when people get married, at least in Nigeria, I don't know how it's done in other countries, but in Nigeria, when people are going to get married, especially in a church setting, they usually do some tests to make sure that, you know, the couple is compatible in every way. So they had a test, and they found that both of them had the AS genotype, which means that they had the chance of giving birth to a sickle cell child. So because of that, Grace, who was the wife, was like, this is a deal breaker for me, like I'm ready to go. But Paul, you know, he was very, very strong spiritual man, and he was like, let's, you know, no go, God can work it out. Anyway, not to give too much in the movie, they got married, and then they gave birth to sickle cell kids, and that was the beginning of the end for them, because it created so much rift in their home. Their children, of course, had a lot, you know, suffered a lot from it as well. So that's why I say, to me, it's a sickle cell movie, but very good. They did their research really well about sickle cell and all the things that we had to do with that. So,
also, I learned 1 or 2 things also. It's always good to watch movies that, you know, you kind of get
where they do their homework.
Yes, exactly. You're correct. Where they do their research.
Medical people, when we're watching movies and like you have some, you know, knowledge about medicine, and then you see some floppy things, can be annoying. So, but on the flip side, it's good when people do their homework, and you as a medic, you can watch it and be like, yeah, this is accurate. I agree.
So I said, I learned 1 or 2 things about the movie, or about sickle cell. Of course, this is not a new thing, especially if you grew up in Nigeria. I'm sure one way or the other you have either family members or friends that maybe had that sickle cell gene in them. So it's not new, but it just reminds us, you know, like the importance of doing some of these tests and making right decisions,
right
because
decisions.
no matter how in love you might feel or you might be at the time, when challenges happen or come, it's not only even the people in love that suffers.
Exactly.
Even innocent children,
people that were not supposed to.
Yes, suffer. And your family, of course, if everybody is impacted one way or the other,
somehow people that you care about will be affected.
Yes, one way or the other. Now, I don't know what to give it in regards to rating. What will you say in regards to rating?
I'll give it an 8.5. I'll give it an 8.5. And I'll give it an 8.5 just because, the movie itself had a good story and a good plot. But the only reason why I'm giving it an 8.5 is because there's some parts where I felt like they could have hurried.
Yeah, that's true.
They could have, summarized the message they're trying to pass across much faster. But apart from that's one of the reasons why I'm giving it an 8.5, not because of the story itself, but more about how it was executed. Yeah.
I know. Funny enough, for this one I would give it an 8 too. I think there were some unnecessary scenes. I think they would have passed the message without extra scenes. So because the movie was quite lengthy, I watched the whole thing. And it's actually been some months that we've watched this movie.
Yeah, it's been a couple of months.
So pardon us.
So might not be maybe in case we are not
on point.
But
yeah. So, but I think picture-wise, it was good.
The story itself.
Was captivating story. Of course, awesome actors and actresses. We like Daniel Etim and also with Kadiri. I think they bring their A game on, and then. It was a very emotional movie, very, very emotional for me, and I don't know what to say, because like we said, there's some kind of faith. It's kind of
he had like a faith to twist. That's not the right word, but they infused faith into it, because like I said, the husband was very spiritual prior to when they met. He was a church. He was a Christian. He went to church. He served in church. But I think he was clouded by, this is my opinion, of course, and many of us have fallen victims of that, even in our day-to-day lives. He was clouded by his emotion. He was in love, and at that time, how like Nigerians say, they advise person really in love, because at that point, no matter what anybody wanted to tell him, and I think another story that this movie teaches us young ones, that who haven't gotten married or who are about to take decisions as important as marriage, before you invest your emotions, make sure that you have asked the right questions, because I think it's easier for you to say take your hands off when emotions have not been invested. Exactly. So I think that was the big issue for them. I won't say they jumped the gun, because to be honest, they did everything right. They became friends. They were friends. Before they build the relationship. But I think pertinent questions, like especially for people that thought they were going to get married or saw themselves as husband and wife material, should have asked themselves such questions like genotype.
Exactly, since both of them had that would have been,
especially because they were both AS. Anybody, like if you're in circles with people that are AS genotype, most times they put their genotype up front, because they know that if they pair themselves to someone else who's AS, there's a higher chance of them being sickle cell. So I would have thought that them being same would have been the forefront of their conversation. But of course, human beings, and this was the first time we're hearing stories like that, where some people even get wrong diagnosis, but this was not their case. But it was just an oversight on their end.
And then another thing I'm going to say about the movie too, like you said, there was some kind of faith-based thing in there, is the fact that sometimes we think we heard from God. And then it might not be the case, or in this case, it might have even been the case,
but not what you think you heard.
Yes,
because sometimes we might think that we heard God, but we only heard half.
That's true. I think you are right, but I think in this case, without giving spoilers, I think the situation on ground could have been handled differently.
Yes,
and sometimes even as human beings, we can apply this to any area of our lives. We decide to go our own way because of some belief that we have, or some preferences that we want to hold on to, or we like. And then when Kasala don't bust, like they say, you now want to go back to what you should have done at the beginning. And it applies to every one of us, So that's something, I'll say that's one or two scenes that I didn't see coming to play.
Okay, like which one?
How will I say that without giving the movie away?
You don't have to say like this was like, okay, say a part of the movie, you won't give it away, just something that you say you feel like.
I feel like I did not see the end result of the child dying.
The family, okay.
Yes, I will say, you know what I mean, and you will understand it better when you watch this movie.
Okay.
So like I didn't see that happening, you know. Of course, I know God is gracious, and
we know we like fairy tales, so
yes.
probably we're expecting that. Okay,
yes, somehow
the kids have suffered, or the child has suffered. You know, let's well.
Yeah, so I
happen the way you
exactly, because the truth about it is that even though God is gracious, there's reality. We have common sense as well.
Yeah.
So I guess I didn't see that coming. That was one part
and I think
of
from
it.
what you said, that just sparked a thought in my head was about the fact that, like, I was saying that maybe Paul, which was the husband, didn't hear God, which, like you said, might not have been the case. Probably might have heard God, but the way it was handled was different. Maybe if they had sought counsel,
yes,
but I've gotten a different, because there are many people that if you are AS and you still think that you want to get married and think that that's the right thing you want to do, it's fine. Your husband and wife can come together, but excluding the child. Like, don't bring a child into the picture.
Yeah.
So they could have considered other options like adoption.
Yes, and
even more, stellar ways now. There are many, medical ways now where the kids don't have to be affected, right?
Yes, or
so
many preventables. Yes, right counsel, more information. There would have been many preventables, I would say.
Yeah. And they would have saved they would have saved themselves the heartache and the headache and the rockiness that became their marriage. So people who were, just imagine, two people who were in love, who could not get enough of each other, now became almost strangers,
sworn enemies, almost, and then I would say that this movie, I think this movie can easily have a part 2, even though where it ended was awesome. It doesn't necessarily have a part 2, but if the writers and the director, producer, whoever, the team decides to make a part 2, I see how they can.
Okay, how do you? I'm curious.
No, because I don't want to give this movie away, but I feel like there could have been a way to salvage things still.
Okay, I see where you're coming from.
That's what I mean. I think they can, and I keep saying it.
I'm not a fan of part 2s too much.
I know.
Like, I feel, because I think that for any movie, most times there's a way part 2 can always be done. But you know how when you watch a part 1 of a movie, I've already put the movie especially if the movie was really good, you've already kind of put the movie on the pedestal. So you're expecting that part 2 should better be, it has to be either at par or better than part 1. I don't know if they'll be able to do the movie in a way that it will be better than part 1.
And I disagree with her. And the reason why I disagree with her, because I think people are out there watching this movie and learning from it. Okay. You see what I mean? So I think, thinking about it, the part 2 does not have to be that long. Like I said, they could have even, where it ended was a good place to end the movie. But there's a way that I think they can still write part 2 that can help people out there.
Just create more awareness.
Create more awareness, salvage home. I think that's why I was like, this movie can still do with the part 2. Not necessarily, but I think it can help.
Keyword salvage home, because to be fair, they were not they loved each other, and more than love each other, they were good parents.
Yes, they were good parents, they were good people. Just life happened to them. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. That was a good movie though. It's been months we've watched it, but I think it has a lot of views. But I think it's a movie that you could watch. And tell us if you think it has a part. Since we are not agreeing on this one.
Yes. Tell us if you think that it should have a part 2,
or it could have a part 2, and why.
And then also tell us in the comments if you've watched this movie, what were your highlights, what you think people should take away from the movie, and if there was anything that you feel like, just like we said, you feel like some parts of the movie were redundant. But if you feel like you disagree, please also tell us in the comment section. Yeah. And if there's any movie you want us to review, also tell us in the comment section. We love watching movies. We watch it for leisure, so why not? We can help you review. We can watch them and review it, so you don't have to. If you feel like I don't want to waste my time, so let somebody go ahead and tell me whether it's worth to watch. Yeah. We are your people.
Let us know. Yeah, let us know. Like I said, it's been months we've watched this movie, but I think the music was captivating. I don't remember, the songs that were used, but I think it kind of.
I don't remember.
Yes, I know. I don't know.
I know it's kind of solemn. Yes. So it kind of, it's blended with your emotions. It made you feel,
Yeah.
It definitely make you feel very emotive towards the movie.
Yeah.
For sure.
But very emotional for me. Itself. Very emotional for me though. I think some place I cried. I lost a friend to sickle cell a couple of years ago, so You know, it was and I have friends too that you know are battling sickle cell. So
I think if
it
you're
was
in
really emotional
Nigeria
for me.
or
Yeah.
you're of African descent, you most likely know someone
Yes,
or have someone in your family or that battles sickle cell.
Yeah.
So we want to give a shout out to every sickle cell warrior who is battling sickle cell disease. You've got this, you're strong, and just keep pushing and keep fighting.
And the grace, you know, the grace to keep pushing, we pray upon you. And the parents, because to be honest, especially when they are still kids too, you know, or when I would say they are not adults yet, the parents, I know that the parents don't feel the pain, the exact physical pain that their kids are feeling, but emotionally, you know, they're in pain as well. You know, so you might not be a person with sickle cell, but still, you know, you might be a parent or a sibling. So you're fighting that battle along with, you know, your family member or your friend. So shout out to everybody, and you know, and I think you should all go watch this movie if you haven't.
Go watch it on Ruth Kadiri TV on YouTube. Yes. All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and of course, share the video with your friends and your colleagues, co-workers, everybody.
Okay, see you soon. Thank you for watching.
Bye.